Morning, Sonder fam. Happy Sunday morning. I see lots of folks picking which, on the scale of pie, how they are. I saw lots of chronically cheeky chocolates. I saw lots of persnickety pumpkins there. Hopefully, we don't have any panicking pecans. Um, I am so glad you are able to spend a little bit of time with us here this morning, getting your week set up. It is Thanksgiving week, so I know for a lot of us, it kind of switches up our schedule, right? Kind of changes things around. So it's very important, I think, for a lot of us to kind of come up with that plan for the week so that we don't feel like the panicking pecan, right? So hopefully we're more the affable apple. Um, my name's Maya, if I haven't met you yet, and it's nice to meet you. And I am in Aurora, Colorado, where it's chilly, but still, we have still not had any snow. They keep promising, they keep saying snow is coming, and it's not. It's like the second latest snow so far. And hopefully it will come. Now they're saying next Saturday, maybe it will snow. So I don't know. We'll see. Definitely did get chilly yesterday, so I guess it's better. At least it's a little bit chilly. It's hard to get in the mood in the season, I feel like, when it's warm. I'm not sure how you folks down where it's warm get in the holiday season when it feels when it feels so warm. But anyway, so we are going to do our weekly setup. Want to make sure that you have your Zoom chat set to everyone. Just notice that if you are on an iPhone or an iPad, a lot of times Zoom is very obnoxious and it will switch back to host and panelist. And when it does that, the only people that can see what you write are myself and my fabulous co-host Bailey. She is coming to us from Tennessee, and she will be keeping an eye there in the chat if you need anything or have any questions. Also, if you're new, give us a shout out in the chat. Just say, hey, I'm new. This is my first social. Want to make sure everyone knows that this is cameras off, microphones off. We can't see you, we can't hear you. So you don't have to worry about anything like that. Also, there's usually upwards of 100 plus folks here. So sometimes that chat gets scrolling really fast. If that stresses you out, you can just kind of turn that off. Oh, and welcome. She says this is her first social, first week. Welcome to the Sonder fam. Some people like to come to these socials and they mostly hang out in the chat, right? Because it's kind of a fun time to talk with their Sonder fam. Some people like to come and it's totally nose and journal. They just ignore the chat. They just focus on getting the journal filled out. Some people do a mix. We do usually have 3 setups, weekly setups. We have a Saturday, a Sunday, and a Monday setup. So you can come to all of those if you want. And so sometimes people come to the first one to set up and then the second one to hang out in the chat. And then they'll come to the third one just to kind of finish up those last minute details. Oh, Jennifer says it's her first weekly setup social in a long time. So welcome back. I'm so glad to see you. And it's always good to just spend a little bit of time to carve this hour out for you. Just know that the hour does go by very fast. It's much faster than a treadmill hour. It's always super quick. I also like to recommend to folks to take screenshots of any of the slides that you want to remember so that you can always go back to them. We'll have lots of good examples and ideas for things that people have done with the different sections. So that's always good. Also, we do record all of our setups and all of our socials, and you can find them. Bailey popped the YouTube list in there that has the playlist with all of those. You can go back and watch those anytime. And there's over 1,000 of them in there now. And you can always go back, if you're kind of new and you want something fun, you can go back a few years, find an old social that was maybe on one of our journal topics, one of, a different theme or something. You don't have to have your journal to be able to work on some of those. So it's always kind of fun to go back into the vaults and watch some of the fun recordings. There isn't the chat. The chat's not in the recording, so that's always kind of a bit of a bummer. But yeah, and Amanda says the cooking socials we used to do on the live cooking socials was usually me and Karen. She's not a facilitator with us anymore because she opened her own Pilates studio, and so she's super busy with that. But we used to cook the recipe in the journal together. That was always fun. So anyway, so lots of fun ones to watch in there. So if you're looking for something to do over the holidays, want to find something to watch, go back in there and scroll through and see what you can find. Also wanted to remind folks or let people know you've probably gotten the emails, but we are doing the early Black Friday sale, 20% off everything in the store. Keep in mind that some of the stock is limited. They were telling us like tell people to make sure if you want one of those elevation planners or the Elevate planner or some of the other the life workbook, some of the older color stickers, those kinds of things that they do. They are limited stock, and they are going to be sending out additional Black Friday sales and, of course, Cyber Monday and New Year's. And there'll be some coaching sales that will be announced separately. So if you have any questions on anything like that, you can always contact hello at Silk and Sonder to let them know. But if there's anything in there you wanting to pick up, I think we still have some candles that smell really good. We used to have bath bombs, but I don't know if we still have those or not. So lots of fun things there in the store if you want to go check those out and get a deal, or you're looking for some gifts for folks. Those are always fun. You could gift someone a subscription. So that's always fun. Yeah, Pam says the candles are great. They definitely are awesome. Just a few community guidelines just to make sure we want to make sure this is a safe and supportive space that everyone feels comfortable here. So we just ask that you're kind and courteous to both yourself and to others. No promotions or spam. We respect everyone's privacy, no hate speech or bullying. We limit those repetitive product and accessory questions. It's fine to have some questions about stickers or markers, those kinds of things. But honestly, the best place to ask those questions is in our Sonder Club app, because then folks can give you links and pictures and those kinds of things. And then any of those customer care inquiries all go to our team, hello at silkandsonder.com. Bailey and I don't have access to your account, so we can't look up shipping information or billing information or those kinds of things. So please make sure to email them. Just know that they're a Monday through Friday Pacific Coast 9 to 5 team. So sometimes if you email them on the weekend, it can take a little bit for them to respond. So just a little patience as we ask. And then ultimately, these socials are a tool to help elevate your emotional health through the power of community. And we have such a fabulous, supportive, creative, fun, resilient, kind community here. But ultimately, you're responsible for your own emotions, well-being, and decisions. So if there's ever anything that we're working on that you're just not feeling it, if you're not, not feeling the music, you can always mute that. If you're not feeling my voice, you can always mute that. We have closed captioning enabled, so you can pop that on. So really, this is your hour, and it's very important. I always kind of stress this is your time to do with it what you need. There's no right or wrong way to do the journal. There's no right or wrong way to do these socials. There's no journal police. We're not going to knock on your door and ask to see your journal and tell you did it wrong. That's not a thing. This really is for you, for what helps. And the best thing about these socials, if you attend live, is in the chat, folks can kind of tell you how they use their journal, which can be very inspiring and give you lots of different fun ideas for things to do. So let's dive in. Hopefully you've been enjoying our theme of kindness. And thinking about small kindnesses, the big kindness, all of those, community, family, how kindness is impacting. I think that's a great theme for this time of year, really thinking about why every kindness matters. And even things, sometimes they're kindness that people will know that you did, and sometimes it's the secret kindness that you do for someone, but all of those things really matter. So our agenda for this morning is we are going to work on, we do a mind map with the theme on these weekly setups. It's not something that's in your journal. It's just a separate on a blank page. This will be the last week of this. Next weekend, we'll start a new one. And we'll do that. We'll do our rosebud thorn activity, which is on page 50 in your journal. And then we'll do those two weekly setups. Oh no, Amanda says she's really panicking. Pecan, she just spilled an entire mug of tea all over herself. Oh no, Amanda. I'm sorry. That's so frustrating to spill your drink. Ugh, so frustrating. So hopefully get that all cleaned up there. And then I always, if you've been with me before, I always use these two little cartoons to illustrate a couple of points. The one with the little pile of kittens says there's room for you here just as you are. So we're here for the good. We're here to celebrate. We're here to hear the good things. There's also room for you if bad things are happening or things that are frustrating, like spilling your tea. So hopefully, Amanda, it wasn't too hot when you spilled it. But sometimes things aren't going well, right? There's sicknesses. This time can be a little stressful for folks with the holidays. The lack of sunlight can be a little frustrating for us as well. Bailey and I were talking about that beforehand, how I notice I get really grumpy this time of year, and I always forget, oh yeah, that's right. It's because there's not a lot of sun. I need to make sure I get outdoors and get more sun early on because there's just not a lot of it there for me to get. And then ultimately, the way you feel matters, and no emotion you feel is bad or unworthy. So, no one can tell you you shouldn't be happy or you should be sad or, any of those kinds of things. You shouldn't be mad about that, right? Like you shouldn't be stressed, right? People tell you, oh, just relax, don't stress out, right? Our feelings are our feelings, and that's just kind of how they are. And we're here to share them and sometimes offer some suggestions, sometimes just that empathy that other folks are feeling the same way is helpful as well. So we're going to find that blank page in your journal. If you've been playing along, this is week 4, so you've probably got your space already. We've been really thinking about this idea of kindness. We've been kind of tying it in with also kind of nostalgia and memories because this time of the year kind of tends to bring those things up. And so really kind of thinking about kindness, not just as a simple action, but as a valuable practice that shapes your past, present, and future self. So this was an example of what you can do with the kindness map. Just know that we do this every month for the theme. Excuse me. So this was Jen O's, one of our other facilitators, and she drew some cute little shapes to write her little kindness mind map in. You can also just use any blank page. Some folks like to use the definition page. Some people like to use the notes page, just anywhere that you want that. And then here's the past 3 weeks if you want to take a snap of that, if you want to do those. You don't have to catch up, right? You can if you want to, but you don't have to. So this week 4, we're having you think about what do your most cherished memories reveal about your core beliefs regarding kindness and compassion? What's one concrete way you can live out that value of kindness this week? So, some other examples of things you can do with the prompt, because sometimes the prompt doesn't necessarily inspire a thought right away. You can also think about which Thanksgiving tradition, gesture, or memory reveals something about the kind of gentleness, generosity, or humanity that you hold most dear. That's another one that's good to think about. And then what is the single concrete kindness you can offer this week that echoes the compassion you've experienced around past Thanksgiving tables? So lots of different ideas. This idea kind of thinking about kindness, thinking about past kindnesses, thinking about your values, thinking about how you can live out those values by showing kindness. One of the things I always tell folks is oftentimes the thing we need, if we give that to someone else, then we end up getting that back in return. So if you need a empathetic ear, if you offer that to someone else, sometimes you will get that back. So kind of thinking about that. So I'll be quiet, play a little bit of music, let you work on this, and feel free to share in the chat what you're writing. I'll kind of toggle back and forth between these slides if you want to take a snapshot. Nicole, this is not in your journal. This is on a blank page. This is something that's special to the weekly setup. So this is anywhere in your journal you would like to work on this. So I will play a little bit of music, let you work on that, and then we'll check back in here in just a moment. Right, thank you. Excuse me for thinking about this, the question, thinking about the prompt, for sharing everything in the chat. I saw lots of folks really kind of thinking about ways to kind of reflect on some kindness that they can have around the Thanksgiving table and some other ideas. I know I was just scrolling back through the chat. Alyssa said the question that she's going to reflect on is, what is one way I can show grace and honor myself this week? Taking time for myself this week is needed for the sake of my mental health. And I think that's so important. So often we give to other folks, and we forget that we too need to fill our cups and we need to rest. So I think that's another really great way to really kind of think about how you can show kindness, how you can show kindness to others, and also show kindness to yourself during this time. So thank you all for sharing. The other thing that's good with these questions too is to kind of reflect on them throughout the week. Maybe if you spend a few moments every morning doing a little journaling, or you close out each evening doing a little journaling and writing, look back at these questions and kind of think, how did you live out that value of kindness each day? So again, thank you for sharing. We're going to go on to our rosebud thorn activity, which is on page 50. So the idea with this is that the rose is something that we're grateful for, something that's very positive, a highlight in our lives right now. The bud is something that we're looking forward to, so maybe something that gives you hope or motivation. The thorn is something that's challenging or stressful, maybe something you could use some support with, something that's maybe a little bit out of your control. So I always like to start with the thorn so that I can end with the nice part. So my thorn this week was internet. We had internet outage issues at home. Luckily, I only work from home a couple days a week, but my husband works from home every day. And it's a very busy time for him. He works in healthcare insurance. And so it's like all these plan renewals, and he's been like working overtime and super stressed. And then the internet just decided to stop working. So that was super frustrating. Luckily, somebody came out, and it was something in the cabling in the backyard. I don't know, very weird. But anyway, so that was definitely a thorn. And it's funny how much you realize how much you rely on the internet for doing things, and that Wi-Fi. And like when it isn't working, it can be super stressful. My bud, obviously, emerging opportunity, thinking about Thanksgiving. I always enjoy Thanksgiving time, being with friends and family. We do a little family gathering on Thursday, and then I have a friend that does a Friendsgiving on Friday. We go up and get our Christmas tree. So looking forward to the holiday festivities beginning. And then a rose, that highlight, it's not a rose, but it's my Thanksgiving cactus is blooming. So it's always fun this time of year when it decides to bloom. It's pretty little red, and I have a pink one too. The pink one's a little bit slower than my red one going, but red one has gone crazy and blooming everywhere. So it's fun. I used to think that it was a Christmas cactus and it was just being early. But no, there actually are Thanksgiving cactus, and there's Christmas cactus, and there's, I think, an Easter cactus too. So I found out that mine is actually a Thanksgiving cactus. So it's always kind of fun to see when those little blooms pop up. So feel free to share in the chat your rose, your bud, your thorn, or all three. Again, I'll play just a little bit of music to let you work on that, and then we'll keep moving on. Right. So thank you all for sharing in the chat. See lots of different things, fun things that are happening for folks. There are rows, people getting to go see the second part of Wicked. I haven't been able to get to the theater to see that one yet, but that definitely is on my list. Um, what other things? Some fun things with relatives. Um, taking care of financial situations, which is awesome. Finances can be really tricky sometimes, and I think again this time of year can get a little tricky with folks, wanting to get Christmas gifts and all of those kinds of things. So thank you all so much for sharing all the things that have been happening, the good and the bad, right? And I think that's something that's important for us to recognize is that life is not that series of ups, right? It's not always up. We have the down piece sometimes as well. And so it's good to realize the balance sometimes and reflect on those good things. And this is also a really good page that will help you as we're coming to the end of the month. At the end of this week, I think we start doing our December monthly setups. And so when you do your December setup, you can look back at your November journal and look at these rosebud thorns and kind of really help you see what happened this month. If you're like me, you're always kind of rushing from time to time and you have a tendency to forget to reflect on things that happen. So it's always good to take just a moment to give us that reflection. So let's go into our weekly planner. This is going to be page 52 and 53. Believe it or not, we are on week 48 of the year, rapidly approaching the end there. We don't have too many weeks left, but we will make the most of it being here together and getting this week set up. So the first thing, I'm going to talk a little bit about the first box about how you want to feel and your weekly major 3 goals, and then we'll play a little bit of music to work on those. But that feeling is how you want to feel today. And oftentimes it's just one word, sometimes it's a string of words, sometimes it's a phrase, but really this sets up your intention for the week, how you want to show up for both yourself and for other folks, kind of how you want to be in the world this week. And some people use their word of the year and they just carry that forward every week, which is absolutely fine. You can see lots of different ways that people have used this. I like the one with the little Mighty Mouse and it says they want to feel mighty. Maybe you want to feel creative, celebrated, light and airy from letting things go. You can have like a whole series of words. I've given you lots of different words there. One person wants to feel flexible. They had a lot going on this week, and so they want to feel like they've achieved something at the end of the week, so they know they need to be flexible. And that certainly is something I think for this time of the year, being flexible can be really important because if we have those really rigid, we must do this and I must do this, and then as things are wont to do, they get a little doesn't always work out like that, right? And that can leave us really frustrated. So just being flexible, just being kind of willing to go with the flow. Going with the flow is a good way to feel for the week. Maybe it's calm. Maybe it's you want to feel surrounded by family. I've got some folks wanting to feel reflective and thankful. Feeling less overwhelmed. Anxiety has been tough, and that can happen this time of year too. So really, maybe wanting to feel that calm, grounded, peaceful, anchored. Want to feel brave. Want to feel heard and seen, radiant and thankful. So keep sharing those feelings as we go into that weekly major 3 goal box. So these are 3 things that you want to set up for the week. Maybe you want to go back to those November intentions. Remember those intentions you sent at the beginning of the month? Have you looked at them recently? Maybe you want to go back to page 9 and look at those and see if there's anything you want to remind yourself on that. Maybe you want to look at that habit tracker and see if there's anything that you want to use from there to set up those goals. Maybe you set these goals through the lens of kindness. Maybe you do some no goals. For example, things like no alcohol or no doom scrolling, no more than a certain number of minutes spent on social media, no impulse spending, no takeout meals. Amanda, and if you didn't do that page, don't worry about it. No worries. You don't have to go back. It's just a lot of us spend a lot of time, I think, at the beginning of the month setting up those intentions, and then we forget to look at them throughout the month. So it's just your little reminder. Excuse me. Also, maybe looking at previous weeks or journals to see if you have any outstanding goals that you want to accomplish. Maybe you want to frame your goals around a single personal challenge, like a fitness challenge, doing 5 sit-ups every morning, doing 5 push-ups. Maybe you want to do like a cleaning or decluttering, some self-care, maybe a new recipe challenge. Here's some examples of things that folks have done. And you can see sometimes you don't have a list of goals. You just have a nice, cozy, this person had wanted to feel kind of a cozy, calm feeling for the week. So they had a cute little picture, the cute little doodle of themselves and how they were going to feel cozy and warm and cared for this week. Maybe you want to think about some of these ways to prioritize your mental health till the new year, right? Yes, I love the left brain, right brain, no brain goals. I think that's kind of a fun idea, a way to frame the different goals that you have. Maybe you want to think about prioritizing sleep, making a movement plan, increasing effort at work, decluttering, organizing, and cleaning. Maybe it's maybe you don't want to do goals. Maybe you want to do 3 new words. Maybe you want to do movies and TV shows that you want to watch, a playlist for the week, some fun activities for yourself. All of these are great ideas for things. Oops, I don't want to go that far. For things that you want to do. So I'm going to play some music, let you work on your feeling and your goals. And feel free to share in the chat, and then we will check back in and keep moving on. Right. Well, thank you all for sharing the different things that you are putting in that how you want to feel. And then those three goals, kind of thinking about the different ways, the different things that you want to accomplish this week. Also, sometimes people, they do like goals for the month. And so then they just kind of keep putting those here in the weekly major three goals. I don't know why I always want to say major three weekly goals. I don't know. For some reason, that word pattern is awkward for me for some reason. Anyway, so thank you all for sharing in the chat. I'm glad you like that 6 ways to prioritize your mental health until the new year. I think that's a I think that those are important things to really kind of think about as we go into the new year. So let's move over to our to dos, right? So obviously, this can be a straight up to do list, right? Things that you want to get done. You can also, we do love a good bingo. So here was a fun cozy kindness for me. They made a fun little cozy kindness bingo with some different things like making soup and listening to their favorite songs by candlelight, some hot cocoa and a book, tea and a gratitude journal. These are all awesome things. I love this. I think that is great. Um, Other ways you can kind of break this up is if you categorize it by some things that you want to do for yourself, for others, and for the house, thinking about those. You can divide this up maybe into an AM, PM routine if you want, if you're kind of trying to get that set up. I know I try to switch up my routines, my morning and evening routines based on the seasons, right? And so sometimes my PM looks a little bit different for the fall than it does for, say, in the summer. So that's always a good time to kind of think about changing that. And then remember, the results that you want rarely come without a process of gradual steps toward it. So if you set up those goals, what are some gradual things, gradual steps you can take to reach that goal? And those can be good to pop here in the to-do list. A lot of people like to use the Eisenhower matrix to help them prioritize their different to-dos. So they'll find those things that are important and urgent, and those go in the do column. They're important and not urgent, they go and decide. Not important but urgent, they delegate. And then not important and not urgent, they either delete or delay. I know one of our other facilitators, Katie, she talks about she never really deletes the things, but she will often delay some of those things that she has on her to-do list. Here's some other examples, other ways to kind of think about it. Ta-da's using a to-do list instead of a to-do list really kind of flips that mindset. Instead of look at everything I have to do versus look at everything I've already accomplished. So those can be good if you have that little ta-da list. If you're like me, a lot of times when you're doing things during the day, you do things that weren't written on your to-do list. So then I always write them down and then I can cross them off immediately after I've already done them, right? Maybe you want to divide it into a me and a family and a home list, or maybe it's a home and work list. Maybe you want to use a quote in here to kind of think. Janet says that she creates space in her weekly spread for daily to-dos because she needs that a bit more. So she used this space to track all the podcasts she listens to, so she remembers when new episodes come out. I love that. Yeah, I like to do my to-do list in the days, just because I want to kind of assign myself days to do things. So that's a great way to kind of think about that to-dos. Maybe it's some podcasts you want to listen to, some shows you want to watch, movies you want to see, songs you want to listen to. Stickers and doodles, of course, are a great way to fill up the space. Also, you can see like some drawing. I like it's a roller coaster right now, but you've got this. And they drew a fun little picture there. Again, a work and a personal, a need and a want column. To be, ways you want to be. Some weekly wins. Maybe you are tracking your wins for the week. So things that you did that are a win. And then, one person used beautiful little stickers and made a pretty little scene there. You can totally do that as well. And then another thing that sometimes is good, we're still in November. So when you're thinking of things you don't want to do, like you don't want to doubt your self-worth, you are not going to embrace negative self-talk. You are not going to dwell on sour moments. You're not going to get caught in an anxiety dive. You're not going to give your energy away. Those are good things you're not going to do. Maybe not going to doom scroll, those kinds of things. And then our habits and activities right underneath that. You can see lots of different ways to do that. You don't have to fill up every line. Like, for example, that one in the middle top, they just have dishes, laundry, and doing the daily ritual. And then they have their goal for how many days they want to do those things. Totally beautiful. Love that. The one underneath that also has three things, but they have things like laughing, kissing, and hugging, random acts of kindness, and curl up and read. That's kind of all I've been wanting to do lately is to just curl up and read. I've been getting a lot of reading done, which is good. But maybe that's something that you want to do. There's a just say no list. Again, if we're kind of following along with the just say no for November, they're deleting some emails and maybe also unsubscribing to some emails is helpful so you don't get as many emails. Maybe you're wanting to do some decluttering, wanting to have some days without sugar, throwing away expired food. That's a good one. That's important for health, right? Maybe no social media, doing some unplugging, going to the gym, waking up early, water daily, get outside. That's super important. Again, like I said, right now, when we have less sun, just getting outside for even 15 minutes, even if you're just sitting in the sun or going for a little walk, super important. Maybe it's the no phone in bed when you wake up, reading a novel, clearing the dishes by the sink at the end of the day, lots of different things that you can pop in here. And here I have the autumn bucket list, some fun things. Maybe you want to do add one of these things into the habits and activities for the week. Or then I've been following and I get the emails from Ordinary and Happy. They have an Instagram account and you can also sign up for the daily emails that they send with fun things like this, but they have a fun little what to do for Thanksgiving. So they have some activities that you can do, some food themed things, some food and drink ideas, some decor, gratitude ideas, some movies and TV that you might want to watch. Yeah, these graphics are awesome. I follow all these things on Instagram. And so it's so fun. You get a beautiful Instagram feed of fun little graphics and little ideas of things to do. Board games, also fun, some family things, some self-care things. So I will let you work on those to-dos and those habits and activities. Yep, that was the last one. And then I will check back in. Oops. And we will keep going. Yeah, Corey, if you just Google Ordinary and Happy, and you can find their website, and then you can sign up for an email, and they send you an email every day with like a daily ideas and things and other fun stuff. Yeah, so they are awesome. So I'll play some music, let you work on that, and then we'll check back in. Okay, so sounds like folks are getting lots of good things down on their to-do list, using that if it's not for a to-do list for, whatever they need it for. And again, that's something that's so important for you to know that you can repurpose any of these sections to make it useful for you. Don't force the round peg in the square hole, or is it the square peg in the round hole? Really kind of doing what you need to do for each one of these sections to make it what you need for the week. And sometimes my weeks look very different from week to week, right? Really thinking about, yeah, Beth Ann saying who's hosting Thanksgiving dinner. That's going to make your to-dos and all of those kinds of things look very different from a typical week. So I'm glad you're spending a little bit of time getting things set up and ready to go. So let's flip over to our next page, which is page 53. And our facilitator, Katie, likes to call this the B side. So when you think about you listen to a record, you have the A side, which a lot of times is what you always listen to. But every once in a while, you want to use the B side. Um, so all of these sections here, I think, are some of our more repurposed sections because folks kind of really use this for what it feels like for the week and making sure that things are helping them feel like they've planned things out and they're getting things done. Obviously, you can use it for a tracker or a planner. Here's a lot of different ways that people have used any of these sections here on this page. So obviously the meal plan, you can plan your meals out, right? You can also track your meals. Sometimes folks will maybe track some of their macros if they're keeping track of how much protein they're eating or how much added sugar, those kinds of things. This is a good place to kind of keep track of that. We also have the little water droplets that you can keep track of how much water you're drinking or how much liquid you're drinking. Some people color code them. So like the brown ones are the coffee and tea, and then the blue ones are the water, those kinds of things. Some people like to do the daily affirmations, write those in there. Yeah, Catherine's saying, or fiber, right? If you're tracking fiber, all those different things that we sometimes think like, maybe I need to track this. I think I'm getting enough fiber, but maybe I'm not. So maybe I need to write this down. Thinking about tracking your exercise minutes, maybe making a cleaning plan, end of day reflections, some appointments. Maybe it's an outfit tracker. If you're traveling, I like to use this to plan out my outfits so that I can not overpack, which that's super helpful for that. Maybe it's a little bingo board. Maybe it's a hooray list. Maybe it's a daily win, a daily happy thing. Maybe it's a symptom tracker. I know sometimes folks are tracking their migraines or maybe some tummy troubles, those kinds of things. And so kind of keeping track in there. So again, all these different ideas, figure out what might work best for you. Here's some examples of some fun, like we have the kindness quote doodles. So I love that, cute little pictures with a nice little kindness quote, spreading kindness like wildflowers, be kind. Those are fun things. The daily affirmation, if you do that from the app, writing those down, this is a good place to write those down. Maybe make it happen. So here's some cleaning things that they want to get done. And then I found this fun little dopamine menu, right? So things that can help us give us that hit of dopamine. And you can plan it out like a meal. So you could have your appetizer, your dopamine appetizer of things like jumping jacks or stretching or standing outside in the sun. Maybe you want an entree, you want something a little more. So you could take a workout class or watch a movie, read a book. Maybe you just want to add some sides so you can listen to an audiobook or call a friend. Maybe you want some desserts. So that's going to be your scrolling social media or binge watching TV or snacking. And then maybe you want to pick the special, right? So maybe you want to book a vacation. Maybe you want to book something for the summer. So you have something to look forward to, that rows to keep in mind. All those different kinds of things, getting a manicure and a pedicure, lots of fun things. So our mind body health plan section there. I found this fun things that help when it's always dark outside, and Katie found it too. So she used it in her social last night, and I thought this was good. Again, as we try to deal with the lack of sunlight. So kind of finding fun things. And I especially like the one that says, remind yourself it's normal to need more rest in winter, right? So if I need to go to sleep at 8:30 at night, I'm going to go to sleep at 8:30 at night, right? Like that's not a bad thing. Maybe I just need a little more rest. You could do a chore bingo. Maybe you want to keep track of something you did well this week, some ways that you loved others. I like the little alliteration one where they have Meatless Monday, TV Free Tuesday, Walking Wednesday, Thoughtful Thursday, right? Kind of fun, different ways to keep track of that. And of course, we do love Hygge, right? If That's one you can search for in the old recordings. We did some Hygge socials several years back, and those are kind of fun, kind of thinking of different ways to practice that um, concept of that Scandinavian concept of hygge, that quality of coziness. So different ways to think about that. And here's a little 7-day hygge challenge. So different things that you could do. So you could add these to that mind body health plan for each one of those days. I love that. I have I have hung up some twinkle lights. I've got those going at night. So those are kind of helpful. And then our shopping list section, again, lots of different ways to use this. I love my little frog here with the cheese. I thought this little meme was so cute. Self-care idea, eat cheese. I'm down with that. Oh, it's cute. Nicole has popped in a link for the Hygge game conversation in there. So that's fun. Oh, Christmas lights in the bedroom. I love that idea. Um, Filling your own cup, right? A self-care bingo, reminding yourself to stay out of the dollar store, no unnecessary spending. Maybe it's a packing list, some intentions. Maybe it's a quote that you really like. If you do tarot cards, oracle cards, kind of pulling one of those and seeing how that guides you, a list of chores. And then the I am loving section is just what you're loving this week. So hopefully, sometimes I like to fill this out in the middle of the week, just kind of with whatever I'm loving. Maybe it's a song that I heard, an old song that I hadn't heard for a long time, any of those kinds of things. So I see that we are like super close to the end here. So I'm not going to play any music to let you work on this. I'll just let you work and see. You can pop in the chat kind of the different things. A lot of folks like the self care bingo idea. Again, the Christmas lights. Bailey's talking about potato soup. I need to find out about that. That sounds really good. I had some soup yesterday for lunch that was really good. Soup is a really good thing this time of year, right? So hopefully, you found some ideas, some things that you want to do for this section, um, different areas that you want to fill in. Again, the hygge is super fun. Amanda says she has to go find a snack now that we've talked about all this yummy, yummy food. Um, what else do we have? Again, the always dark. Yeah, Bailey's saying there's so much you can do with Thanksgiving leftovers for sure. Absolutely. So I will just kind of cycle through these as we play some music and go out. Please, I hope that you have a fabulous week, a fabulous Thanksgiving, that things go nice for you. Please share in Sonder Club any of the things that you have your setups. You can see all of these we got from real life people, right? Real life things that we've seen. And then just a reminder about the 20% off. So Bailey will pop some links in there. The link for the YouTube video, the keep in mind we do have some other socials happening. So thank you all so much for joining us. I know this is always such a fast hour. I always look at the clock and I think, oh my gosh, how did it get so late so quickly? Thank you for joining us. Have a great week, and we will talk to you again soon.